Mrs. H, Psychology. This is for AQA Spec Psychology, and it's actually the one I'm going to do now is paper 2. It's on biopsychology and specifically methods of investigating the brain. So if we have a look at this specific question, this was on mock paper for year 12. Briefly discuss at least 2 methods that have been used to investigate localization of function. So in other words, cortical specialization in the brain. Now, the thing that can confuse here is they're actually asking about 2 methods used for localization of function, for investigating localization, but it's not an essay on localization of function. So be careful with that. I know that some of you got muddled with that in the past, so be warned, be very careful. It says briefly discuss at least 2 methods that are used. Okay, so this particular question was just for 8 marks, and what you should always do is look at, we need at least 2 methods, so that's quite nice because you can bring in more, and it's for 8 marks, so obviously always try and break it down, plan it in your mind even if you don't scribble it down on paper. So we've got 2 methods, got 8 marks, so really it's, and because we've got to discuss, we've basically been asked to briefly outline them and discuss the 2 methods. Okay, so 4 marks per method. Right, so I've put together some information here, for example on fMRI scans, and we've got 4 that the specification expects us to cover. So the new spec says ways of studying the brain, scanning techniques including functional magnetic resonance imaging, so fMRI, EEGs, ERPs and postmortems. So we can include other scanning, but obviously specifically they want us to cover fMRI. So I will just pause for a moment. You guys can have a look at this. This is the, if you're going to use fMRI, with this particular question, we would outline a little bit of the procedure and then we need to discuss it. Okay, so I would recommend you do a little bit of information, making sure that you're giving some very specific detail for your, effectively your 2 AO1s for that, and then probably discuss a strength and a weakness, or you could develop your strength or your weakness. But I think it's probably good practice to say one strength of it is this, but on the other hand a weakness is that. So I'll just pause this so you can have a look at this, or pause the video so you can make notes with some nice detail on that. Okay, so that's fMRI. We could go on to the second one, EEGs. EEGs being electroencephalograms. Okay, and so you've got here some nice detail, include a couple of these points, and then a little bit of information about a strength and a weakness. So again, just pause the video so that you can make a note of some of those if you need more. Going on, ERPs, event-related potentials. It's a little bit of fact about them, strength and weakness. And finally, going on to postmortems. Okay, a little bit of info. Remember, postmortems, yes, we do postmortems on a body, but here specifically we're looking at the brain, so be careful. Make sure you're talking about a person's brain is examined in our case, because the whole point here was about localization of function and things like that. So having a look at that. So if we go back to our question now, discuss at least 2 methods, so you could include more, but 2 should be fine. Been used to investigate localization of function. Remember, this is a methods question, not a localization of function question. Okay, and finally, just so you can have a look, here is the mark scheme, the sort of levels which are quite useful for you. Notice that in order to get level 4, so 7 or 8 marks, we need to make sure we've got lovely, accurate information, detailed information. Okay, so sometimes they'll still access you to level 4. You'll get access to level 4 with some detail missing, but you need to generally have a very good detail for that. But also look at this, we need specialist terminology. That's what you're looking for. And too many students just respond with answers that are very, very generic, very vague, and kind of off the top of their head. They're not, you're not showing your understanding and your knowledge. You're not showing enough knowledge that you've sat through lessons and you've learnt about this very specifically, and that's what you've got to do. Okay, so here we haven't really got an application with this particular question, but we do have evaluation. Okay, so you can see the different levels there, and you're trying to shift and ensure you can get more detail and more accuracy of terminology, really, as well as expanding on these evaluative points in order to get up to level 4. And that's it.